Hockey players, are you looking to take your game to the next level? Well, you probably know strength training is absolutely crucial to this. So in today's video, we're going to be looking at the 9 key components of a strength training program to take your game to the next level. First up is thoracic mobility. So think about the twisting, rotating movements required in hockey. When you need to get low to the ground as well, you're going to need loads of mobility through that upper back. A lot of common issues around the lower back are actually caused by a lack of upper back mobility, so it's important to target this area. To improve this, try exercises like child's pose, T rotations, Spider-Man rotations, and just soft tissue work and foam rolling around that thoracic as well. Spend about 5 to 10 minutes on these before a strength training session, especially upper body work, and you'll really notice the difference when it comes to pressing based movements and getting overhead as well. Next, let's talk about hip mobility. So, hockey involves a ton of deep lunges, low positions, like we've already said, and most of the time you're going to be in a split stance position, getting low to the ground, shooting, tackling, and passing. And although your lower back can take a large brunt of the work, it's actually the hips that require a larger range of motion in order to get low to the ground and to reduce the risk of that stress through the lower back. Now, some great strength exercises here to develop both mobility and strength will be things like lunging based patterns and wide stance lateral movements. But we can also incorporate this into stretching based movements like Spider-Man rotations, half kneeling stretches around the hip, squat holds, getting really effectively into low shapes and making sure we can get into the lowest position we can in the hip, and also things like quad stretching and also plenty of soft tissue work around the hip. Just like with thoracic mobility, try and spend 5 to 10 minutes on this before a strength training session. But also, when you're on the pitch and doing a speed or conditioning focus session, spending those 5 to 10 minutes is going to make a huge difference. Now, within strength itself, we want to start with bilateral strength. This means both legs together. A deep hockey stance is a mixture of a squat and a hip hinge, so you need to be strong in both of these different positions. Start with simpler movements and progress as you get stronger. So you could start with a more basic movement like a body weight squat, moving through to a goblet squat, a back squat, a front squat. And if you're feeling really strong and mobile and you've got that thoracic mobility dialed in, then aim for an overhead squat as well. Next, the hip hinge. A lot of time in the field is spent in a bent over position, which can strain your lower back. Now, the hip hinge teaches you to get into a safe, effective position, and it's going to reduce the risk of injury in that lower back, and it's going to make sure that your posterior chain, your glutes, and your hamstrings are doing the majority of the work and not your lower back. Try these variations: a bodyweight hip hinge, a dumbbell Romanian deadlift, a barbell Romanian deadlift, and then a split stance and single leg Romanian deadlift as you develop strength and stability in those patterns. The best way to get really strong in this movement is always going to be bilaterally because you've got more stability and you can add more absolute load to the exercise. But if you want to try and challenge that dynamic stability and that single leg control, then a single leg exercise is the way to go. Try to incorporate hip hinging into every single session that you do, whether that's just in the warm up, whether that's a main lift, or whether that's an accessory exercise. Unilateral strength is massively important for hockey. The game is played effectively in split stance most of the time. So whether you're tackling, passing, shooting, or getting into low positions in the D, you're always going to be in some kind of split stance or true unilateral exercise or true unilateral based movement. Now, training one leg at a time helps you to address asymmetry, so imbalances between the left and the right side, and that can obviously lead to injury if you haven't addressed those. So, great exercises for this to developing single leg strength are things like a split squat, a reverse lunge, a rear foot elevated split squat, and then a true single leg squat to a box and off of a box as well. Really great exercises to develop single leg control and strength. Don't neglect upper body strength, although hockey is very much a lower body dominant sport. You've obviously got to control the stick when physical contests, and you want balance across the body. You don't want to have a weak upper body because that can obviously reduce the impact of your performance, and it can also have injury risk factors associated with that as well. And obviously, the upper body is a massively important factor when you're trying to make a pass, take a shot, or win a physical contest. Your upper body is going to transfer a lot of forces through the ground and out into the stick. So hugely important to be strong here as well. Now you can break the upper body into different movement patterns. We can move horizontally in a push and pull based movement and vertically in a push and pull based movement. For a horizontal push, think things like push-ups and bench presses. For a vertical push, think things like a shoulder press. For a horizontal pull, try and think about bent over rows, single arm rows. And for a vertical pull, think about things like pull-ups and lat pull downs. In the majority of strength sessions, try to incorporate a push and pull based movement, ideally in the same movement pattern if you can. So a horizontal push and pull or a vertical push and pull work really nicely as a main exercise. The hamstrings do a ton of work during hockey because you're in low stances, you can have quick decelerations and change the direction. So to build resilient hamstrings, you need to focus on hamstring capacity as much as strength. So hamstring strength is going to come from things like max effort sprinting, heavy Romanian deadlifts and traditional deadlifts, and also things like single leg isometrics. But if we want to try and build capacity, then we need to be working at a lower intensity and doing a lot more volume here. So great exercise for this are things like single leg bridges, hamstring curls, Swiss ball curls, and Nordic curls are a really great exercise as well as for a more advanced variation. Aim for higher reps and longer sets to build that endurance. And you can even try this on a single leg if you want to really challenge that hamstring capacity as well once you've built it up on two legs. An example of this would be something like 3 sets of 20 of a bridge variation on each leg to try and build capacity. So as I say, we're not trying to build huge amounts of load into the exercise, we're trying to build the capacity of the tissue to withstand repeated loading. Ankle injuries are common in hockey, and your calves are the first line of defense. So strong calves, calf capacity helps to absorb and produce forces and attenuate those forces at the ankle, lowering the risk of injury. So try and focus on things like single leg calf raises, walking calf raises, bent knee, straight leg variations to target both the gastrocnemius and the soleus muscle groups, both of which have got a really key role in providing stability at the ankle joint, reducing the risk of injury, but also improving your sprint performance and change direction ability too. Now, the calves can produce a lot of force. They're very, very strong. So actually slightly heavier loading is going to work better here. But again, just trying to build volume in them so that you can produce higher levels of force, but also build the capacity of the ankle joint and reduce the risk of injury. So something like 3 sets of 8 to 12 here, repeated every single session, is going to be a great way to build capacity over time. Or if you're only going to do this a couple of times, try and go for a higher rep range in that 15 to 20 rep range, again with multiple sets. Finally, we have trunk capacity and the muscles around your spine, often called the core, but more accurately, probably called the trunk, everything from the shoulder girdle to the hip joint, are going to stabilize the body and transfer force from the lower body to your upper body, as well as provide what we call spinal stiffening, so reducing the risk of injury around the spine. Now, a strong trunk is crucial for preventing lower back injuries and also for producing powerful movements. Incorrectly, a lot of people recommend doing what we would call anti-rotation based exercises, but if you watch hockey, we're not trying to stop our ability to rotate. We're actually trying to assist the rotational forces going through their spine in a safe and effective way, transferring that kinetic energy from the lower ground out and out into the stick. We shouldn't be trying to stand and not rotate. We're trying to actually produce effective rotation. So this is where things like medicine ball throws, things like banded exercises, things like rotational banded exercises are going to be really effective here, as well as single arm pressing, because you're going to be producing lots of force, but also challenging that stability through the whole trunk as well. Now, aim for circuit-based work for any kind of trunk-based work. Try and do a 7 to 10 minute circuit of 100 to 250 reps within that time period. So lots of work in a short period of time, trying to build that capacity, because ultimately the trunk can withstand a lot of work, but you've got to really try and challenge it to improve its capacity. So how do you combine all of these components into a weekly plan? Here's an example of a 3-day-a-week program. So in workout one, we're going to do a mobility circuit focused around the thoracic and hip. We're then going to do a back squat, Romanian deadlift, a split squat, single leg bridge, single leg calf, and a trunk circuit in workout one. In workout two, we're going to do another mobility circuit. This time, as it's more of a lower body focused exercise, we're going to be doing a bit more around the hip and ankle. We're going to do a front squat, a barbell split stance Romanian deadlift. We're going to do a reverse lunge, hamstring curl, calf raise, and a trunk circuit. In workout two, we're now going to do a total body exercise. So we're going to do some thoracic and hip again, just making sure we're getting plenty of work into the thoracic before doing pressing based movements. We're then going to do a front squat, a barbell split stance Romanian deadlift. We're going to do a dumbbell press and a single arm row. And then we're going to do a hamstring curl and a calf raise before doing a trunk circuit to finish. Finally, then in workout three, we're going to do a mobility circuit. We're going to do a goblet squat, hip hinge, rear foot elevated split squat, Swiss ball curls, calf raises, and a trunk circuit. But remember, this is just a template. You can mix and match these exercises. You can mix and match these exercises and adjust the order to fit your needs. The key is to be consistent and to prioritize these 9 components. If you've got any questions about these exercises and how to put it all together, just let me know in the comments below. Please remember to subscribe, like, and follow the channel for more information specific to hockey.